Welcome to Chentex Multimedia live stream for Friday the 29th of January. Hey, it's Friday and this month has just flown past. And of course, we know that today is the anniversary of the day when it was announced that there is going to be a health emergency here in Queensland. So, today, as the Premier announced, I will be touching on that a little bit later on as well. Well, right now, let's heading into the weekend, and as, the travel restrictions are easing as well, let's take a look at what the weather has in store for us so that we can plan our weekend. With that, let's welcome Dilraj.
Good morning, everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 30 degrees. Brisbane area is partly cloudy with medium chance of showers. Light winds becoming east to southeasterly 15 to 25 km per hour, becoming light in the evening. Sun protection is recommended till 4 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 13 and fire danger is low to moderate. Over the weekend, Brisbane area will be partly cloudy with medium chance of showers. Light winds becoming easterly 15 to 20 km per hour and then becoming light in the evening. Tomorrow minimum will be 22 and maximum will be 31, and sun protection will be recommended from 10 to 8 till 10 past 4 in the evening, and UV index is predicted to reach 14, that is extreme. On Sunday minimum will be 22 and maximum will be 29. And sun protection again is recommended from 10 to 8 till 4 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 13, that is extreme. Till tomorrow, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
And thank you very much for that news update, Dilraj, because now we can plan what the weekend is going to be looking like. Well, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we know that at this point in time, there's lots happening in and around Fiji. So, when we look at what's happening in Fiji at this point in time, there's big floods in the Western Division, especially in Ba. You're listening to Australian Indian Radio, and right now, as we know, in Fiji, there have been lots of rain and flooding in Ba. And we have on the line with us at this moment a very prominent gentleman from Ba Town, Tarun Baitasoni, and of course, he is involved with many community organizations, and he is a JP. So, Tarun Bhai, thank you so much for taking our call.
Thank you very much, Mr. Umesh Chandra, for your words of encouragement and your loving and sharing.
And thank you very much. So what is the condition there in Ba at this point in time?
Thank you, Mr. Umesh. Presently, the Ba town is flooded as we can see the Coronambu flats, the small settlements, the Munisimala Road, and all the small village settlements are all flooded. Past Ajan, and we can see the Fiji Sugar Corporation are all under flooded, and we urge all to stay home and keep yourselves and your families very safe at this very critical time. And we have been looking at this windy wet versus the Fiji Mat now, whose predictions will be accurate. We don't know. But the situation in Fiji is getting worse, and we pray to the Almighty God to give us the strength or grace to give us calm, and this hurricane may pass away. Thank you.
Okay, so just looking at Ba Town itself, of course we know that Ba Town, the main street, always floods. So what's the flood situation there? Are people able to get in and out?
Not really. We can see the Eluvuka Creek has been breaking its banks, and the water is rapidly rising up, and we do hope that the rain has been stopped at this juncture, and the more rain has been fall on the hillside, and that is the major problem. And we can see the drains are not that clean, and they're all blocked up, and that is a major problem in Bartown as usual. And this is the present condition, I can say.
Tarun Bhai, thank you so much for that update. I do hope that you all remain safe, keep safe, and keep doing the wonderful job. And we will probably get some, insights and some updates again tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Umesh Chandra, and have a blessed day. And catch you later.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a live report coming from Ba in Fiji. As we know, Fiji is our neighboring country, and they're always prone to hurricanes and floods, as you could see from those photos, for all the floods that have taken place there. Right now, moving on with the show, we're going to look at what's been happening with the new laws and where are we with the restrictions right here in Queensland at this point in time. So let's take a look at what's happening with that. So changes to the Queensland border restrictions, which come in force 1 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time from 1st of February. So Greater Sydney will no longer be a hotspot. So anyone who has been in any part of New South Wales will be able to enter Queensland by any means of travel, and they will not need a travel permit. So which is good news. Or they would not have to quarantine, or they will not need a border pass restrictions. The border pass restrictions will continue to apply for those who have been overseas in the last 14 days, including New Zealand. So we will bring you up to date on what's happening with New Zealand. So let's see what's changed from 25th of January. So New Zealand is no longer a safe travel zone as was before. So anyone from New Zealand who travels to Australia will need to quarantine for 14 days and in a government arranged accommodation at their own expense. So that's what anyone who arrives from New Zealand on a quarantine-free flight or since 14 January must get tested and isolate until they receive a negative result. The restrictions mean anyone that is travelling to Queensland from 1 a.m. on Sunday 20th December 2020 and has been in New South Wales at any time since 1 a.m. on Friday will need to apply for a border pass, and they will need to quarantine and they will, have to have the border declaration pass before they enter Queensland. By applying for a border pass, it does not mean you will need to go into quarantine unless it is required by, another part or another direction. For example, if you have been in a COVID-19 hotspot for the last 14 days, people who have been in the COVID-19 hotspot in the last 14 days since the hotspot was declared, whichever is shorter, will be allowed to enter Queensland except for a limited range of people who can enter for essential purposes. Currently, specific parts of New South Wales are hotspots. People are permitted to enter Queensland who have been in the COVID-19 hotspot within the last 14 days. Will generally have to quarantine with the government arranged accommodation. Queensland residents who have been in a COVID-19 hotspot can return home by whichever means, and they can move forward as well and relocate to Queensland, but they will have to quarantine in government arranged accommodation at their own expense. So these are some of the major updates, and of course everyone's looking forward to the complete when everything is all going to change and people will be allowed to travel as usual. So at the moment, you need to comply with an order to attend court or tribunal or give effect to orders to court or tribunal if you have to fulfill an arrangement or obligation relating to said parenting or child. you have to contact the Commonwealth Law Investment Investigation or other action at the request or the direction of a state or Commonwealth, then you are allowed to enter, of course. Under these circumstances, again, it is essential to complete your activity to arrive into Queensland by air. You need to transfer directly to another flight or leave Queensland. You don't have to then get a code if you are not getting out of the airport. So these are the updates at this point in time, and there's so much else that's happening out there and that we'll really need to keep an eye on and move forward. Well, for now, let's take a very quick look at some of our sponsors. And as we know, I'd like to thank
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
Of course, not forgetting that the real estate updates that we always get from GlobeNet Realty on every Wednesday. I would like to thank them for the updates and for sponsoring that segment there as well. Well, right now, for the next news for today. Well, of course, we know that Hindu Society of Queensland, which operates a Gayatri Mandir in Boondall, celebrated their 30th anniversary on 26th as well. So as we know, that 26th of January marks a very important day for Hindu Society of Queensland and, of course, for Vishnu Maya Mandir. Today we are showing you glimpses of what happened at Gayatri Mandir, and tomorrow we'll bring to you a complete coverage of the proceedings which took place at Vishnu Maya Mandir, and there were quite a lot of dignitaries who arrived there. So we will look at that in great detail when we look at that tomorrow. So these are the glimpses here from Gayatri Mandir, which is situated at 178 Lyndhurst Road in Boondall. And of course, we know that celebrating the 30th anniversary, the Hindu Society has come a long way. There have been many committees who have come and gone, and they've all done wonderful work there, but you'll always see there's a handful of core people who are always there regardless of whichever committee comes and goes. So it's wonderful to see that it all continuing, and not forgetting that every Friday we have the Ramayana there. So and every Tuesday night I'm there every Tuesday night with the Ramayana session as well. So this is the flag raising ceremony, the Chanda Bandhan. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the update from Hindu Society of Queensland, and as we have said before, that it is wonderful to see all the activities taking place under the guidance of the Panditjis, and of course every committee that has come in there as well, and some very strong advocates and volunteers who have worked tirelessly to bring it up to the stage where it is now, and there is talks of the new mandir or the community centre being built in Bracken Ridge, which we will find out about very, very soon. Well, right now let's go on to some of the general news and looking at World Health Organization. Let's see what's the update on Wuhan. So the World Health Organization and the officials who were in Wuhan for investigations have now completed the quarantine. So now they are out and now they can start the investigations. So those are the scenes from Wuhan, and of course we know that there have been lots of investigations that are taking place, and the World Health Organization officials who were in quarantine have now completed the quarantine procedures, and they are now clear to go out and carry on their investigations. And I really do hope that they come up with some constructive, investigative journalism, and maybe coming up with trying to find out what actually did happen and what took place. Well, right now people mention that music unites everyone. Yes, it does. And this weekend on Sunday night, we will once again bring to you the Music Junction. It's at that time once again, and a month has passed. It doesn't seem like it seems like yesterday, but yet. And I will bring to you an update of what's coming on Sunday night at 6 p.m. Well, right now on another news, ukulele. Of course, ukulele unites everyone, so does music.
My name's Jennifer Keith. I'd always wanted to play a musical instrument. I tried the keyboard, I tried a guitar, but I failed at absolutely every one of them. They were just too hard. We came to live in Pakenham and I knew nobody. I went to the local community centre, I'd met friends, it was great, and I wanted to give something back to them, asked them would they be interested if I started up a little ukulele class. Okay, we're going to start, and we're going to start with a lovely, easy one. So we get some people who may be in their 50s, and we've got one lady who I think's around 87, 88, somewhere around there.
Earlier in the year I was in a very fragile place and I ended up at the front desk here and I just asked, I need to be with people, is there anything on? And I was told about the ukulele group. Coming to Uke Group changed my life profoundly. It's a very hard thing to say, but it's kept me here. Very nice. I have to say Jennifer is so much fun that she brings it out in everybody.
I'm David, I'm Jennifer's husband. Well, Jennifer is the front person and obviously is showbiz obsessed.
There's a free sausage sizzle.
Whereas I set up all the equipment on the technical side as opposed to the showbiz side.
All my cares and woe, here I go, singing low.
She really is the Bette Midler of Pakenham.
I keep thinking if I keep running fast enough, the Grim Reaper won't be able to tap me on the shoulder. So we've got a big concert coming up. You know, the organisers will say to us, oh, we think there'll be 20, and you walk in and there's 5.
Now, all you have to do is enjoy it.
Some people come in and they are really, really frightened, lacking in confidence, and over a period of time they just shine, and then you can't shut them up.
Yes, the ukulele always pleases, and it is wonderful to see everyone coming together with that the musical episode there. Well, right now, everyone is looking forward to the travel bubble between here and New Zealand. but it's been put on hold for at least another 72 hours.
The HPPC has today been advised by the New Zealand Chief Medical Officer that all 3 confirmed community cases have been genomically linked to an international traveller in hotel quarantine in New Zealand, meaning that they all have the variant of concern. The HPPC was also advised that all close contacts of the first New Zealand case have now returned a negative test result, and that 5 of the 11 close contacts of the subsequent 2 cases have also returned negative results, with the remainder awaiting their results. Results are still pending on a number of other people who are in quarantine at the Pullman Hotel at the same time. Based on this updated information from New Zealand, including that there have been 2 additional confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the community in New Zealand since the initial case, and all being the variant of concern B1351. The HPPC has recommended that the Commonwealth extend the pause in safe travel zone flights from New Zealand for a further 72 hours. This recommendation has been made to the Australian Government. The Government has accepted the advice, and so the travel pause on green zone flights from New Zealand to Australia has been extended a further 72 hours until 2 p.m. on Sunday, January the 31st. This allows continuing protection of the people of Australia while the extent of the situation in New Zealand continues to be clarified.
So yes, everyone's looking forward to New Zealand opening up once again. So the travel between Australia and New Zealand much awaited. There's so many people eager to travel, and there are so many compelling reasons for that as well, because everyone wants to connect with their families, and there are many other incidences as well. I mean, you might not know it, but there are many times so many things that are happening in families where the presence of someone is very important. No matter, of course, everyone knows that you can connect virtually, but it's just not the same. You need to be there to look at the situation, feel the situation, and deal with the situation as well. Well, right now, Labor has a reshuffle. Let's take a look at who's who now.
I think that's your weapon.
A contact sport where targets and goals are in contention. Anthony Albanese seeking to recast the politics of climate change in a possible election year.
There is no way that a Labor government that I lead won't take action on climate change. Zero possibility.
The Labor leader doing what he said he wouldn't do, removing Mark Butler from the role of climate spokesman.
Chris Bowen will bring a focus on jobs to the portfolio.
Changing the jockey is a good start, but alone it won't be enough.
Veteran Labor MP Joel Fitzgibbon adamant the party also resist short-term emission reduction targets, while sticking with an ambition of net zero carbon pollution by 2050.
So that we have a meaningful climate change policy that doesn't leave our working people feeling threatened by that policy.
People will make their own judgment as to whether Joel Fitzgibbon's playing a constructive role.
Labor and the Coalition won't be able to avoid demands for stronger climate policies, both here...
We've got to reduce our emissions by somewhere around 75% by 2030.
...or internationally.
Today is Climate Day at the White House.
President Joe Biden giving notice the United States wants all countries to drastically lift their carbon-cutting efforts.
In my view, we've already waited too long to deal with this climate crisis, and we can't wait any longer.
His new chief diplomat declaring America's climate advocacy will extend to the world's biggest emitter, China.
Increasingly, that relationship has some adversarial aspects to it. It has competitive ones, and it also still has cooperative ones.
Whether Scott Morrison resists the US President's demand for Australia to ramp up its carbon commitments will be clearer when the two leaders speak in the days ahead. As for Anthony Albanese, there's no sign that a switch of key personnel signals a retreat on climate ambition. And while there's serious grumbling about his leadership in some quarters, Mr Albanese is seeking inspiration from the newest climate activist.
Underestimated by some, he's now President of the United States, and I will be the leader of this country after the next election.
A declaration of determination. Andrew Probyn, ABC News, Canberra.
And as you can see, the determination is there. Well, we really need to make sure that it's all followed through with the climate change. There's so much talk that's been happening. Well, the other area of concern, and a lot of commentary has been going on, is about Google as the search engine here in Australia. What's happening with their future?
Australians are used to having the day's news at their fingertips, but that could soon change.
These companies have got enormous market power. I think it's only fair they pay for it.
This is absurd legislation that is dangerous to the essence of the internet and the web. I think this is unprecedented in its idiocy.
A power struggle is unfolding between the Australian government and some of the biggest tech companies on the globe. They're arguing over whether Google and Facebook should pay for news content that appears on their platforms.
So we have this unique situation where sovereign countries are having to confront companies that in many ways are more powerful than they are.
As audiences moved online, traditional media companies, including newspapers and television stations, have lost significant advertising revenue. The News Media Bargaining Code, proposed by the Competition and Consumer Commission, seeks to rectify that.
There clearly is an imbalance in bargaining power, and so that's the purpose of the code, to facilitate commercial negotiations so that the value of what news media businesses and journalists provide to Google and Facebook can be appropriately recognised and compensated.
The digital platforms argue it's media companies which benefit from the traffic directed to their sites. Late last year, Facebook said it would stop all news content being shared on its platform if the code goes ahead.
We now welcome representatives from Google. Thank you for appearing before the committee today.
At a Senate showdown last week, Google threatened to remove its search engine altogether.
If this version of the code were to become law, it would give us no real choice but to stop making Google search available in Australia.
Yeah, you're going to pull out of every market, are you? Or is this about stopping the precedents?
It is untenable risk for our Australian operations.
How do you justify that in the public interest?
The only rational decision is to withdraw the service. It is the last thing that we want to do.
If media companies and digital platforms can't agree to a price for news content, an independent arbiter will decide. The tech giants say the proposed code is one-sided and leaves them open to unreasonable demands for compensation. Both Facebook and Google say they're willing to pay for news, but only through their own licensing programs.
With Facebook and Google, their business model is being threatened by even having to pay one provider or content producer anywhere in the world through some sort of mandatory code, because that opens the floodgate to having to perhaps pay for everything that goes on the internet.
Stephen Shearer was the CEO of Facebook Australia and would like to see his former employer reined in.
This isn't just about who makes how much money. This is about, we need a vibrant public interest, investigative, free journalism ecosystem in this country and in every democracy around the world.
The ACCC says it expects lump sum payments to be made by tech companies for access to news instead of pays per click. News Corp, 9, 7, ABC and SBS could all be eligible for payments, but critics of the code fear it could endanger a free and open internet.
It is all a game changer at the moment, and the way the news is said, as we know these days, these online portals, Facebook Live and other ones, there's so many people uploading videos and they're doing quite well as reporters and channels on their own right without having to have a big TV company or network behind them. Right now, let's get an update from our Premier in Queensland. Yeah, we're ready.
Everyone, good morning Queensland, and in more good news today, we've only had one new case in hotel quarantine in Queensland, which is absolutely wonderful news. only 12 active cases in Queensland, and in the past 24 hours, over 6,950 tests have been conducted. Once again, that's great to see Queenslanders getting tested, and you need to keep that up. Well, today is a very significant anniversary, and that is 1 year to the very day when we declared a health emergency in Queensland to deal with COVID. We were the first state to do so, and I can remember very clearly that I called a meeting of the Queensland Disaster Management Committee to actually look at this issue, and ministers had to come back from our caucus retreat to make sure that we were dealing with this issue. And of course, on 1 a.m. on the 1st of February, that border will be lifted from Greater Sydney, which means that New South Wales will be free to come, all of New South Wales, to come to Queensland. And of course, we welcome them to come to Queensland and to catch up with family and friends. Well, over the past year, let's go through a few key facts. We have done more than 1.7 million tests. There were 1,309 cases recorded in Queensland, and tragically 6 people passed away, and we extend our condolences to those people, and of course 5 were from cruise ships. 28,000 people joined our care army, and never before have we seen so many people who came out and wanted to look after some of our most vulnerable members of our society. 1.2 million vehicles were processed at our borders. What a great effort that was. And 878,392 passengers were processed at our airports. Well, we still know that we are in the midst of a global pandemic, but on behalf of the government, can I thank every single Queenslander for the part that you have played. Can I also thank all of our frontline emergency response staff, the men and women of Queensland that have not only protected Queensland and keeping Queenslanders safe, have conducted the tests, have looked after our borders and our airports, who've looked after the most vulnerable in our community. This has been a mighty Queensland effort, so thank you very much, everyone. And of course, we are not out of the woods. We do not know how long this global pandemic will continue, and we are seeing alarming rates overseas. And we will continue to be vigilant, we will continue to monitor what is happening overseas, and that is why we need the best defence, and of course that is our hotel quarantine. So look, with those few words, I'll hand over to the Deputy Chief Health Officer, then the Health Minister, then the Commissioner, and the Deputy Commissioner will say a few words, and then we're happy to take some questions.
Thank you, Premier. Good morning, everybody. As the Premier said, Queensland is in an extraordinary position, really, in the midst of a global pandemic, and that's really thanks to the efforts of many, including the community. So, thank you very much from myself. But as the Premier said, we still will continue to see cases, and we've had one new case in hotel quarantine today. That's in a woman in her 40s who travelled from Pakistan via Doha. But it's really a testament to how successful the hotel quarantine program has been, that the majority of our cases are detected in hotel quarantine. But we will continue to see cases, and we continue to monitor the situation overseas, and I think the situation in New Zealand with the cases they've had in hotel quarantine is another example of that. So we'll have to continue to be mindful, continue to remind the community that if you do feel unwell or have any symptoms, to please go and get tested. But today's probably a day more for celebrating really the position we're in. So thank you. I'll hand over to the Minister.
Thank you, and today certainly is a day to reflect on the extraordinary 12 months that we have all faced. I do welcome the decision of the Commonwealth yesterday to extend the New Zealand suspension of green flights for another 72 hours. That is really important in light of 2 new community transmission cases, and we'll be watching that very closely and taking advice of the Chief Health Officer and also the Commonwealth Health Officer in relation to the progress from New Zealand. And of course, the increase that we have seen in testing in the last 24 hours, we can contribute some of that increase in testing to people who have been travelling in New Zealand, who have arrived in Queensland and who now are heeding our advice and going off and getting tested. But we know where we now stand is over 101 million cases globally of formally identified positive cases, and we know that there's many, many more that don't make it onto those statistics. We've over 2.1 million deaths officially recorded globally. When you compare that to Queensland, we've had 1,309 positive cases and sadly 6 deaths, and as the Premier said, 5 of those have come off cruise ships, and in fact 176 of our positive cases all up have come off cruise ships. We've done over 1.7 million tests. We've had 145,538 people through quarantine. Over 145,000 people through quarantine. 65,334 of those through hotel quarantine. So over 65,000 people have been managed through hotel quarantine, and currently we have over 2,200 people today in hotel quarantine. We've still today got 114 public testing clinics across the state, in addition to the private pathology clinics that are doing COVID tests. And we are still operating under 21 Chief Health Officer public health directives. There's been over 100 public health directives issued over the last 12 months. We have also, in this amazing time over the 12 months, delivered COVID-safe local and state elections. We have hosted a full house at the State of Origin with great results. And we hosted the AFL Grand Final at the Gabba, the first time the AFL Grand Final has been held outside of Victoria. We are in the very fortunate position that Queensland is now back in a position of having full stadiums and the lowest restrictions across the country, including allowing dancing. And for all this, we say thank you. Thank you to each and every Queenslander who has helped us make these results possible by complying with those directives. All of those people who have had to quarantine over the last 12 months, either at home or in hotel quarantine, those people who got COVID early on, who isolated at home unless they were unwell, we thank them for complying with that isolation, because that stopped the COVID virus transmitting throughout our community. For all those people who have got off planes and had to go into hotel quarantine for 14 days, we thank you for your compliance. This hasn't been easy, but it's because of everyone's willingness to work together that we've had these great results. We thank all of our frontline workers, our hospital staff, our doctors, our nurses, our police, our ambulance officers, the Australian Defence Force, our retail workers who kept the stores open, kept stocking those shelves and serving us while everyone else was staying home and working from home. It's been an extraordinary effort. It's not over yet. We still require us to all work together over the coming months while we roll out the vaccine. We're going to be asking a lot of people to help administer this vaccine and of course come out in large numbers to get this vaccination so that we can open our economy up and to get back to the normal that we used to know and to protect our citizens and to strengthen our economy. So thank you to everyone for your great effort.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to make some broad comments and then I'll get the Deputy to talk into a little bit more detail about the sheer statistics and the numbers, I suppose, that we've all dealt with over the last 12 months. So it is the 12-month anniversary of what has been an extraordinarily challenging year, not just for the QPS, but for all of our partner agencies, the DTMR, SES, ADF, and particularly Health, who have worked closely with us to protect our state. But I did want to comment on our relationship with community in what I believe has been one of the most successful relationships throughout Australia in terms of working together to be compliant to make sure that we deal with this pandemic issue. It has always been a strategy of compassion, communication and then compliance. and it has been an extraordinary strategy and an extraordinary partnership. So to my police officers who have worked extraordinarily hard over the last 12 months, a sincere thank you for your dedication, but to also the people of Queensland, a sincere thank you. We have a way to go, but I know we will continue to succeed because that partnership has truly been successful. So thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's been that update there in the last part as well, and I'd like to place on record special thanks to Tarun Baisoni from Fiji, who joined in with that interview. We were worried about whether we'd get through with the current condition that's there. Of course, Bar Town is under the floods, as it usually happens there. So, our prayers are with everyone there. Well, right now, it's time to say goodbye, but don't forget that tomorrow, in the weekend edition, we'll bring to you a special coverage of Vishnu Maya Mandir's anniversary celebrations. As we know, lots of our dignitaries were there, including Scott McDougall, the Commissioner for Anti-Discrimination and Human Rights. So we'll hear from all of those. So it will be a slightly extended program, but that's tomorrow on its own, because it will be a bit of a lengthy program. But it will be wonderful to see all the ones. So we'll try and put it all together today. And Sunday night from 6 p.m. will be the Music Junction once again with RJ Sabi. So looking forward to seeing you on both of those live streams. So tomorrow morning 10 a.m. we bring to you the weekend edition. And on Sunday night, 6 p.m. will be the Music Junction. And in between, we'll keep an eye on the situation there in Fiji and see how things go. And of course, we'll bring the live updates of whatever news we get of what's happening in India as well. All the protest march in Delhi, and to see if there's any update, at where we are up to this point in time, between the negotiations that are happening there. And we will, report on what is happening there rather than forming our opinion. So right now, it's goodbye from me. It's been wonderful having your company. It's always so good to see you. Thanks to everyone for sharing the information with your contacts. And it is wonderful to see that kind of support that we get. But of course, we do realize some of the groups do not allow us to say their post in there, and that is quite fine because all the groups have their own rules and we need to follow and abide by those rules. In the meantime, if you need to join Australian Indian Radio Group, please do join our group to share any information and any other things that you might have. The other page or group that I could recommend is the Brisbane News and Events. I think that's quite progressive. Lots of people joining in and sharing news and information on that one as well. And as I have mentioned before, if you have any topic that you would like to discuss on this show, please do contact us. That's all it takes. Contact us and we'll try and bring you on whichever way we can. Like today we tried to get a video link into Fiji. We couldn't, but we managed to get a phone link and some pictures and clips sent over so that we could compile that news for you. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Enjoy the rest of the day. It is Friday. Go out, enjoy, but be responsible. If you're having a few drinks, drink responsibly. And of course, wherever you are, even though the restrictions are easing, please be vigilant, take care and remain safe. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye.